Prime Minister.
Welcome.
Many thanks.
Pleasure.
Mrs. Shifani.
A pleasure.
Yes.
Pleasure. Have a seat, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Distinguished Ambassador, pleasure receiving you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
And your wife. Good to have you, and I hope that your brief visit here will be an enjoyable one.
We are very excited to be
Nice.
in Antigua.
Very well.
And
And I also hope too that your visit will help to strengthen the bilateral relationship between both our countries. As you're aware, we established relations back in 1983, so that's about 42 years. This year is our 44th year of independence coming up in November. So you would have been one of the first movers to establish diplomatic relations with Antigua and Barbuda. And we certainly cherish your country as one of our sustaining partners. As you know, we are all people of African descent.
Absolutely.
You know, Africa is a motherland, and the Caribbean is currently our homeland. And we are doing all we can to try and strengthen the relations between Africa and the Caribbean as the sixth region of Africa. In fact, I just returned from Addis Ababa, in which we held the second Africa-Caribbean Summit. In fact, I was the CARICOM chairman back in 2021 when we held the first summit. We had to hold it virtually because at that time it was during the period of COVID. And at that time I would have recommended that we institutionalize, well, first of all, establish and institutionalize Africa Caribbean Day on September 7th, which was actually accepted by the conference. So every year since, we have been celebrating Africa Caribbean Day on the 7th of September as we seek to bring the continent and certainly those of us here in the Caribbean diaspora closer. We had held very good discussions in Addis, and centered around strengthening our integration, having greater people-to-people exchanges, and at the same time to get our students to collaborate and have student exchanges between our universities and African universities, and even to establish an academic network in which they could work together, do joint research, and to share information. I also spoke about establishing stronger sea links and air links between Africa and the Caribbean so that we can increase investment and trade. In fact, Antigua went as far as recommending that we establish at least a once-a-week service into the Caribbean from Africa, direct flight, which can be subsidized by a few governments to make sure that it's viable. Because in order to strengthen the relationship between the homeland and the motherland, clearly we have to be able to move people. So we believe that establishing the air link between Africa and the Caribbean is absolutely important for the continued growth and development of that relationship. So we held, very good discussions about, strengthening the bonds between Africa and the Caribbean. We even spoke about eliminating visa requirements so that people can move seamlessly. So we all committed. In fact, we also spoke about reparations. That was a salient issue. And recalling that, during slavery and colonialism, they plundered African resources, they plundered African bodies, brought them here to the Caribbean, ostracized them, victimized them, literally killed them, worked them into the ground. Some were actually thrown overboard, on the way in the Middle Passage from Africa to the Caribbean. And we continue to call for reparations, not as a form of charity, but we feel that we have a sustaining position, one that is mired in, or let's say rooted in justice. So we continue to call for reparatory justice, not only for those of us here in the Caribbean, but in Africa, because at the end of the day, our people are taken from the mainland, from Africa. And your resources, perhaps even up to this day, is plundered to some extent.
Yes, indeed.
Or is being plundered to some extent.
Yes.
In your case, with your country, you have a lot of mineral resources.
Indeed.
And there's no reason why Zambia should continue to be a poor developing country with the kind of resources that you have. But when we look at the history of colonialism and slavery, it is evident that, the Zambian people and Africans generally were not given a fair chance to develop their countries and to exploit the resources for the benefit of the local people. So we have to work together to have a reset, one in which our economies do not continue to be extractive economies for the wealthy, but one in which we can literally harness our own resources for the development of our own people. And we have to be very bold and strategic about it. And obviously it's going to take even more enlightened leadership to make sure that we accelerate that transition so that Africa and the Caribbean can make an even more meaningful contribution towards global development, and perhaps in the first instance to prioritize the advancement of our people. I mean, there's no reason why countries that are so wealthy in terms of human and mineral resources should be developing countries compared to smaller countries with less resources controlled by Caucasians. We have a right to preside over our own resources and to utilize them for our own development. And again, as I said before, it's got to really take bold and courageous leadership. So we're looking forward to Gambia and its leadership, including you, to press for that transition in the interest of future generations, so that we don't have to go cap in hand to these wealthy countries in the north to beg them for developmental aid. If anything, they should be begging us, because it's really Africa that really has the abundance of resources. So you have here in the Caribbean, very strong family members. I'll go further than saying allies, in the sense that we're fundamentally one and the same. If you perhaps don't speak and we are unable to determine your accent, you look like an Antiguan. So, we all one and the same, we know all civilization emanated out of Africa.
Absolutely.
So we have to retain, that prominence in terms of our own history, and at the same time continue to be a proud people, and to make sure we work assiduously for the advancement of our people. The resources are there, both human and mineral resources, and again, we have to now have a reset. In our case, for example, we've been operating our own economic model that we refer to as capital empowerment.
Yes.
One in which we are literally utilizing our resources for our development. I'll give an example. The banking sector now, for example, is controlled mostly by local institutions, local people. So, and that's one of the most lucrative sectors on the island, barring tourism. So that the profits that are generated, most of the profits are actually retained in our economy for our own development.
Right.
At one point, the principals of the foreign bank branches here, they had determined that they wanted to sell their banks to another entity outside of Antigua, and we blocked them. We said no. We must have the first right of refusal.
Exactly.
So what has happened now, as a result of forcing them to sell locally, our domestic banks now, they're bigger, they're better, they're making more profits. More of the profits are being retained here, and they're building greater resilience. So it has worked out better for us, So we're very purposeful in terms of what we do, and obviously making sure that what we do makes sense, and that the policy decisions are ultimately for the development of our people. And again, if we can be an example to other African countries to provide that type of bold and courageous leadership, we're quite willing to continue to dialogue with you. Within the international forum, we expect to continue to coordinate our efforts with all countries on the African continent, including Zambia, to address issues of climate and all inequities, even the issue of the international financial architecture that has been skewed against us. When those institutions were formed, the Bretton Woods institutions, we were colonies, so we really didn't have any participation, and we now need to demand a seat at the table. There's no reason why, for example, Canada should be representing the Caribbean region and some other country representing Africa. We went to the same universities as them. We have the experience and the qualifications just like them. So why we can't represent ourselves and have representation, at the level of the World Bank and the IMF and so on. So we don't accept that, and we have to push for these type of global institutional changes, and to do so courageously, because at the end of the day, we're fighting for equity. Absolutely. This idea of white supremacy, we don't subscribe to that. No. There's no human being that is superior to any other.
Exactly.
Neither we feel any sense of inferiority. We consider ourselves their equals. In fact, all of us are equal in the sight of God. And we cannot allow them to treat us as second-class citizens. We have to stand up and be counted. We have to call for justice, for reparatory justice, for climate justice, and stand tall in the global community and continue to fight for the advancement of our people. So congratulations on your appointment, and I certainly want to wish you a very successful tenure and good health, and you can be assured of the full support of Antigua and Barbuda. Though small, though powerless, we are strong in our advocacy on a number of issues, and we can collaborate with you in many fora to address the inequities that are literally affecting our respective countries and their peoples.
Thank you so much.
So, Prime Minister, the Commissioner will present the credentials.
Okay.
Your Honorable Prime Minister, it is a great honor for me to present to you the letters of credence and the letter of recall of my predecessor, by which His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, has accredited me as non-resident High Commissioner to Antigua and Barbuda. I bring with me his warmest greetings and best wishes to you, your government, and the people of Antigua and Barbuda. Though geographically distant, our nations are united by shared values of democracy, peace, and multilateral cooperation. Zambia deeply admires Antigua and Barbuda's leadership on climate change and the resilience of small island states, which aligns with Zambia's own aspirations under our 8th National Development Plan. I also wish to warmly congratulate Antigua and Barbuda on being chosen to host the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in 2026. This will be a historic moment for your country, and Zambia stands ready to support your efforts to ensure a successful summit that will strengthen the Commonwealth family. Honorable Prime Minister, during my tenure as non-resident High Commissioner, I look forward to working closely with your government to deepen our relations, explore opportunities for cooperation, and to strengthen our partnership within the Commonwealth and other multilateral fora. Please accept, your Honorable Prime Minister, the assurances of my highest consideration and my personal commitment to advancing the friendship between Zambia and Antigua and Barbuda.
Thank you, Excellency. Okay. And before you present your credentials, I just want to extend an invitation directly and will write formally to your President to ask him to attend in person at the Chogam Conference, which is slated for November of next year. I think his presence here will help to further enhance the bilateral relationship between both our governments. So if you'll convey to him in the interim that a formal letter will be sent to him, inviting him to be part of this historic occasion, in which we are not only seeking to bring the Commonwealth family closer together, but even in terms of Africa-Caribbean relations, we're trying to strengthen those relations. As you know, we are the largest bloc within the Commonwealth. And what we may want to do is have a side meeting with our African counterparts when they get here, as we speak to the implementation of the things that we would have discussed in Addis Ababa, to include the issue of air connectivity. But what we're seeking to do here in Antigua and Barbuda is a catalyst to ensure there is strong implementation, an urgent implementation of the various things that we agreed to in Addis. And I think if we can have a number of heads come together by next year, assuming that we have not made the progress by then that'll help to accelerate the establishment of the air links and probably the sea links, so that we can increase trade and investments and to allow for greater people-to-people exchanges, and even in terms of cultural exchanges between our artists. So it's important to have him here, and if you will utilize your good office to reiterate the fact that we're looking forward to have him here in person. Thank you again.
Certainly convey.